Welcome to Conversations with Anne Elizabeth, the podcast inspired by my book, I'm a Registered Dietitian, Now What? Where I have the absolute joy to sit back, relax, and have a conversation about nutrition with a variety of people who share their personal story of passion and purpose, especially registered dietitians. Today's conversation is with Jane Pelcher, a registered dietitian and recipe developer with a passion for food photography. I started following Jane on Twitter. Yes, Twitter seems ancient, but she was posting some great videos on various nutrition topics, and I always think highly of those who get themselves in front of the camera. It's the biggest thing I struggle with. She has evolved since then into enjoying her creative side with cooking and food photography. Jane shares her journey along the way on her social media and enjoys helping others who share the same interest. Please enjoy my conversation with Jane. I always saw your great videos on Twitter, so I'm excited to get to know you and just how you evolved as a dietitian to what you're doing now. So
cool. I never knew you found me on Twitter that way.
I did. I know. People don't say that. They're like, hey, I found you on Twitter, because it's like archaic, isn't it? Kind of.
Yes. I hardly ever use it anymore.
I know. Most people don't. So, well, that's where I found you. So whatever you did at that time worked for me to find you.
Very cool. I'll keep posting there then.
Okay. So why don't you take me back to kind of when you had an interest or you became interested in the field of nutrition and dietetics?
Sure. Okay. So being a dietitian is actually my second career. My first career was in human resources. So I'm initially from Dallas, Texas, and I graduated from the University of North Texas. Got my business degree from there, and then I worked in HR for a few years. But what really got me interested in nutrition was that last role I had in HR. I was a benefits coordinator for an oil company in Dallas. And I got to coordinate their corporate wellness program. It was so much fun. And through that, I also got to bring dietitians at nearby hospitals on site to do like one-on-one counseling with our employees. And they also did lunch and learns. And that's when I learned so much about nutrition. They would do like the sugar presentation, where it shows you, how many teaspoons of sugar is in a Gatorade and stuff like that. And that was mind blowing for me because I didn't know how much sugar was actually in drinks. And they also taught how to eat a balanced meal and stuff like that. And so I really appreciated that. And also being over the corporate wellness program, I would send out health information to our employees, like in our monthly newsletters and stuff. Mm-hmm. And I would grab a lot of data from like the American Heart Association. And that's when I learned about, the relationship of sodium with blood pressure. And it was just so fascinating. And there was something inside me. It was like, how do I learn more about this? And I started cooking on my own. I was like a young professional living on my own and finally learning how to really cook and be on my own. So as I started learning to cook, I was also kind of integrating all the nutrition stuff that I learned from the dietitians and from the information I was handing out for our employees in the corporate wellness program. And I think that's where it really took off as far as me being super fascinated with nutrition. And then also finding that there's a lot of conflicting nutrition information. And I wanted to really be the person that could learn what was the nutrition truth and what was the nutrition myth,
Yes, because there's tons of it, especially like when you were an HR person, you probably sitting on the internet, you were like, oh my gosh, like this person says this, like, what do I even, it probably took a lot of research for you.
It did. And, being someone that's outside the health field and not knowing anything about science and nutrition, I had no idea what I was reading. Right. And what was really truth or who to believe and who not to believe. Like, is Dr. Oz really the greatest of them all? or
is there someone better?
Yeah, exactly. And where are they? And where are the dietitians when I need them?
Sure.
Back then, and I think it's becoming bigger now.
Yeah. And probably in corporate wellness, did you know to seek out a dietitian, or did they direct you to seek out a dietitian for like your lunch and learns and your presentations?
Oh, so I was in a good spot where they had a lot of stuff set up with the previous benefits coordinator, and she had already had connections with dietitians nearby. And so I was able to grab those dietitians when I took the role and have them come on site. So it was guided. And it's nice to like know that dietitians are continuing their influence over there.
That's really cool. So well, and I think it's interesting how you were in HR and then you did have a degree and you had developed this interest in cooking and then nutrition. So what made you think, I'm going to go back to school and I'm going to do this?
What was so interesting was there was a girl sitting next to me and sitting in the next cubicle. And she was actually about to leave her HR role so she can study to become a dietitian. And so when she told me about that, yeah. So when she told me about that, I started looking to the field. I'm like, this is exactly what I want to learn.
That's crazy that you both were kind of like on that same path. Like, I kind of like nutrition. I think I'm going to do this.
Yeah. So that happened. And it was really cool because I told the dietitian about me wanting to leave the role now and become a dietitian. And she was so sweet and so caring. Like next time she saw me, she brought over flowers and a little card welcoming me into the field. And it just felt so like loving and warm, you know?
Cozy, yeah.
Yeah. And I mean, ever since becoming a dietitian, it has been a very like warming environment. Like I feel like everyone's very supportive of each other and it's been great. I really like the community of RDs.
So when you decided at that moment, you were living in Dallas. So how did you navigate like picking a school, starting school again? What kind of steps did you take?
So at that time, when I was curious about becoming a dietitian, my now husband, we got engaged at that time. And during the year that we were engaged, we actually were long distance because he got a job in Silicon Valley to work for big tech companies. And so then I knew that once we get married, I would be moving to Silicon Valley over in the San Francisco Bay Area. Mm-hmm. And I was like, this is actually a prime opportunity for me to do my career change because I can leave my job in Dallas and just go straight into going back to school and going into a new career. So then I started researching schools around the area in San Francisco Bay Area. And so I narrowed down to like San Francisco State University and San Jose State University and ended up getting accepted at San Francisco State as a second bachelor student. So I was very fortunate that happened.
That worked out. I think it's funny. I feel like now that you've been a dietitian for a while, I feel like we always do everything at one time. We like get married, we start a new career, and then we like buy a house. I mean, it's like you just do it all in like one swing. So you were like par for the course doing it all in one swing.
Yeah. I highly don't recommend it.
Probably not.
But the timing felt good, but it is really, really stressful. So you got to really, do a lot of self-care when you have a lot of changes coming at you like that.
Yeah, especially moving. I mean, moving too. That's a lot to take on.
Oh yeah. Moving to California, you would think moving in somewhere else in the United States wouldn't be that big of a culture shock, but there was a really big culture shock between Texas and California. And it took me probably about 3 years to really settle in and accept it.
A long time.
Yeah, it is. I've been here for 5 years now, so it took a long time.
Yeah. Was it just like, and you lived in a big city. I mean, you lived in Dallas. So, I mean, you moved to another big city, but just the difference in just culture and probably the pace is probably much different too.
Yeah. It's a lot more easygoing in Dallas. And I thought I knew what traffic and crowds were like in Dallas. I was so wrong. San Francisco is another monster. Yeah, San Francisco and actually the entire San Francisco Bay Area is just traffic all the time. I can hardly ever get a movie ticket the day of or the next day because it's always booked. Yeah, it's really, really crowded. But I really did love the cultural shift because I'm Vietnamese. And when I worked in Dallas, I would have coworkers that would really make fun of Vietnamese food, like right to my face.
Seriously.
Yeah. Like we'll go out for a bowl of pho. And I remember one lady, she said, whatever meat they have in here is whatever they scraped off the floor from last night. And I was like, oh my gosh.
Wow.
Like, yeah. It was so crazy. But then, so as soon as I moved to the San Francisco Bay Area, about 3 months later, I started a DPD program at SF State. And it was so cool because they have a little pho restaurant right outside the school.
Oh, nice.
And people of all colors were lined up to get a bowl of pho on a foggy day in San Francisco. And that was the most beautiful thing I've ever seen in my life. I was like, oh God, I feel so accepted here.
I'm like, this is my place. These are my people.
Yeah. No need to hate the area. It's good for me.
Aw, well, that's good. Like, that's probably like a good sign that you needed to have, like starting your program and just starting all over again.
Yeah, definitely. It felt nice.
So how long was your program? Like, did you have to start completely from scratch then? Did you have to go back and do all 4 years, or did anything transfer from your previous degree?
Some things did transfer. I think it was management, since I had an HR degree, so I didn't have to do any management classes at SF State. And then surprisingly, I had taken a nutrition class in my first bachelor's degree and had no recollection of it. So, yes. So I had my first bachelor's degree, but I was trying to go through it so quickly. So I finished it in about three and a half years.
Wow.
And so I took a lot of summer classes because I just wanted to get it over with. I wanted to grow up. I wanted to get a job and move out,
Sure. Yeah.
And so in that time, when I was taking 15 credits during one summer, I had taken a quick 3-week online. Yes.
You took 15 credits in the summer?
Yes, it's doable. I wanted to get out of there so quick.
Yes, you were motivated. Anyways.
Yes. So there was, I took apparently one online quick nutrition class for 3 weeks. And I think it was just a blur. I just did it so I can get my quick credits. And I heard it was an easy A at that school that I was going to. And I did ace it. So it transferred over. I was like, yes, this is so cool.
Thank God I passed everything on that.
Yeah. But as far as sciences, I took science classes for non-science majors. So nothing
Sure.
transferred over science-wise. So during the year that I had left in Dallas before I moved to San Francisco, I had to take, I think, psychology, chemistry, and biology.
Oh my!
And to get set up. But they had already accepted me into the program, but they said you have to make sure you have those classes completed before you start the program.
So you took those all together with pure joy.
Yeah, I took all those all together. Yep. It took Saturday classes. So my whole Saturday was gone because it'll be like a 3-hour course in the morning and then 3-hour lab.
Oh, yeah.
Right afterwards. Yeah. So I'll take up my whole Saturday, but it was worth it. And then when I went to San Francisco State, it took me 2 years to get my second bachelor's in dietetics.
Oh, that's not
it was pretty fast.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. That's great. So when you were in your bachelor's, were you really like, yes, I made the right decision?
Yes. So I knew, looking back, I think I became a dietitian more for myself so I can get the knowledge that I wanted. And then I wasn't exactly sure how I was going to have a career out of it yet. And when I had applied for SF State, they sent me the list of curriculum, and it was really exciting just seeing the titles like advanced nutrition and medical nutrition therapy. And it all sounded very cool, but I didn't really understand what medical nutrition therapy actually was. So so I had no idea going into the bachelor's program that it was so clinical and science heavy. So that was a shocker, but I persevered anyways and made it through the program.
Medical nutrition therapy it's like its own animal too. Like we always think of food, like you're probably really excited about food, but then you're like, whoa, what is this sciencey kind of mania? Yeah.
And it's so fascinating because I think my favorite areas was heart and cardiovascular. And I think that goes back to me working pretty closely with the American Heart Association when I was in corporate wellness. Mm-hmm. But to learn that we have influence in kidney disease and prevention and all kinds of other diseases. It was the coolest thing to know that we can have that kind of influence if we wanted to and work in clinical. So that was a big shocker for me, but I think it's a good area to have as a dietitian.
Absolutely. So internship, what did you go? Was there an internship available at your school, or did you have to go somewhere else?
It's really competitive over in the Bay Area. So although I finished my DPD at SF State, we would still have to apply for the internship program and go through the whole interviewing process. And I was freaking out a little bit because I felt like I wasn't good enough to get into any Bay Area program. And going into the program, they had said that we have to make mostly A's and a few B's in order to even be considered in any Bay Area program. So you would have to keep your GPA at like 3.6, 3.7 and higher, No and I felt pressure. Yeah, exactly. No pressure. And although I had the grades, I still wasn't confident in myself. And so I was applying to only distance programs. And one day my teacher pulled me aside and she said, Jane, you have like actually good grades. And I think you can apply to Bay Area programs if you wanted to. And I was like, oh, okay, well, if you say so. and she wrote me a letter of recommendation and everything. And so then I applied to SF State and I applied to Golden Gate Dietetic Internship. And in the end, I was able to match with the Golden Gate Dietetic Internship. And they're a program that's focused on north of San Francisco area. So Marin County, just anything past the Golden Gate Bridge was where their rotations were set. So I was very fortunate to be able to get an internship in the Bay Area. Definitely.
Did you have to drive? I mean, did you have to drive all over the place then?
Yes, I did.
Yeah.
I think but my dietetic internship director or co-director, she was really cool because she tried to find me locations closer to me. So she was actually able to get me into my 2 food service management rotations nearby. So that was really, really nice. But otherwise, my commute was anywhere from 45 minutes to an hour and a half going into the programs. But yeah, I survived it.
How long?
I think you're just...
how long was the program?
The program was really quick. It was 9 months. And in 9 months, we did 7 rotations. Yeah. It was insane. It was, yeah. And it had a community focus. So we were able to work on our own project for 2 months that was community based. So that was really, really cool. And I was able to help one of our local chefs that we were working with to create a corporate wellness program that she already kind of had started. So I kind of helped her on the back end with getting her corporate wellness set up. So then the idea was any money coming into her corporate wellness program would be used to go back into the community where she teaches kids how to cook in the unified school districts that she taught at.
Oh, fun. That's like combining both of your careers, being a dietitian and your corporate wellness career.
Yeah, it really did. And it was cool too, because I got to experience another area of California that I haven't had experience in yet. So it was really cool because the kids over there are like really educated. So they knew a lot about nutrition and food already. And then they also were very like intuitive and understanding that they wanted to know where their food's coming from. So they support local farms. And even when we gave them tomatoes, they would all together say, thank you, Rebecca. Thank you, Farmer Rebecca, for giving us tomatoes today.
Oh my gosh. That's so
It was such a different culture. Yeah. And then in the mornings, they would do yoga together and they thank the sun and Mother Earth for providing them food.
Oh my gosh. How unique.
Yeah. And growing up in the area I grew up in, that is not a thing.
You're like, we didn't do that.
Yeah, not at all. Not at all. So that was a really cool experience.
Yeah, that's really cool. So when you were in your internship, what was the thing that made you kind of think about, oh, I really like this, or, oh, this is something I'd like to do?
Ooh. So I think I got matched into Golden Gate because I had a very community focused point of view on nutrition. And when I was at Golden Gate, I knew that I didn't want to do clinical. But then going into becoming a dietitian, I never even knew about the clinical aspects. So that was just never an area that really got me going. Mm-hmm. But as far as something that I enjoyed the most, it would be my community nutrition project that I did that's connected with corporate wellness and business. Mm-hmm. And what else? I noticed that teaching kids was really hard. That wasn't something I wanted to do.
It is hard, but it's fun. But like you said, it's very difficult if you don't have that like teacher like mentality.
Yes. And I don't have that at all. And I think I'm just so used to working with adults back in the days. Mm-hmm. It's just working with kids was just another monster for me that I couldn't handle.
That's okay.
Yeah. And although I didn't really enjoy the working with students, I did really enjoy the aspect of teaching them how to cook. And I think that kind of ignited a fire in me as far as, oh yeah, here I am again with cooking, learning about food. But now there's an extra thing tacked on, which is like, where does food come from? Stuff like that. Mm-hmm. Going more farm to table, becoming, a lot more Californian in my view on foods. And that opened me up to the world of like Alice Waters, who's a big restaurateur and chef over here. And she's very big on farm to table. And she started the farm to table movement out here in Berkeley. Yeah. So I think that kind of just tacked on an extra component to, dimension to my cooking and appreciation for food. And once again, being a lot more Californian in my approach to food now.
I like that motto for California. Mm-hmm. So obviously you found a passion for cooking. I mean, obviously, because just with all the things that you do right now that you love, the kind of the basis for what you do revolves around cooking and food.
Yes. So I'm really happy with where I'm at in the sense that I can work on my website, Jane a Dietitian, and focus more on cooking and nutrition. But there's definitely areas I can work on as far as, and extra dimensions that I keep tacking on to cooking and food.
When you got done with your internship, did you take a formal position anywhere, or did you kind of jump right into your own business?
So right after the internship, I actually worked in food service management for 6 months. I made it for 6 months. It was such an accomplishment. Thank you.
How was that? How was working in food service management?
It was tough. So I was a food services supervisor, but I did purposely go out looking for food service management positions because I had 2 very phenomenal food service rotations during my internship where I shadowed the food service directors. And I feel like I'm always nerding out with the directors about, management theories, leadership theories, HR.
Which is, again, your first passion. So
yeah. And it was so much fun. That's probably my favorite area that I studied when I was studying for the RD exam, was just the management areas, because, things just click. And of course, it's the easier thing to do on my end. So I thought, hey, why not mix the 2 worlds together, dietetics and HR management, and go into food service management. So I became a food service supervisor, but then I think reality hit really hard that supervising was very, very different from big picture management and theories. Mm-hmm. So, myself, I'm introverted. So being a supervisor is very, very challenging for someone that's introverted because you're constantly being bombarded with problems and people. And I never am able to sit down and take a breath and re-energize, because it's just go. And you're all constantly being tugged everywhere in all directions. Yeah. And then on top of that, very difficult with work-life balance. So then after 6 months, I kind of had a moment with myself and realized that I just haven't been happy and life's just too short to be unhappy. So I just quit and created JaneTheDietitian.com.
That's awesome. I love that you're life is too short to be unhappy, because that is 100% the truth.
Yeah. And, you can really be in a job like that for years. And it's just, I don't know, I feel like I'm getting older. And as I'm getting older, life's just going by so much quicker now. And I really need to slow down and enjoy it,
That's so true. So how did you, was it when you're like, oh, I'm just going to create Jane the Dietitian? So how did you come up with what you were going to focus on and kind of your business, and share with me that process for you?
I went in there slightly blindly. So I had actually started a blog right when I graduated from SF State because I was super excited about potentially becoming a dietitian now. And it was called Dash of Knowledge. And in there, I was trying to teach just nutrition. It didn't really go far. I only had, I think, a couple of blogs and a few posts on Instagram. It was just focused on, what's in your food? What is vitamin A? What is fiber? So when I started Jane the Dietitian, I basically just rebranded, used the same sites and stuff like that, but just rebranded to Jane the Dietitian. And I was focusing on the same thing again, like what's in your food, the nutrition. And then slowly it became okay, I'm talking about nutrition. Here's what I'm eating. Let me try to incorporate what I'm eating with, the nutrition that's behind it. And then I tried to focus on, I struggled learning how to cook on my own as, a young professional back in the days. Let me focus on, how to cook, go into the basics of that because it's so important to connect nutrition with cooking. That's the best way to learn nutrition, really, is to cook. And yeah, so it's kind of kicked off since then. And somehow it has gone into recipe development, more blogging, as well as food styling photography, which I've really been enjoying that in, as a creative outlet. So that's kind of where it's at right now.
You are doing just amazing things with food photography, though. I love seeing your posts and just your creativity, and you share what you do. You're like, this is how I did this. This is what I use as far as your camera and your lens. And what's kind of the thought? Are you just trying to help other dietitians also kind of work with the same things you're working with?
I think there's two things behind that. Well, three things actually. So, I see a lot of posts. Sometimes I see an occasional post go through Instagram saying, oh, my food's ugly today, but I don't care. I'm going to post it anyways, which I'm totally cool with. I don't judge. But then there's, and then there's another dimension where it's like, oh, don't believe what you see on Instagram. It's all fake. This is what you see on Instagram, but it's fake. But here's what the food really looks like, which I totally understand as well. But I don't want them to send a message that kind of blunts the creativity that goes behind food styling photography, because food styling in the end really is an art, and food photography in the end is really is a science. And I feel like it should be respected in a sense. I don't feel like there's any reason to bring it down. Just, you can say, oh, yeah. So then that's when I started doing behind the scenes. Yeah, so I wanted to do behind the scenes to show the work that goes into it. Also, it's just a lot of fun, and I love sharing with other people, and it has sparked so many fun conversations on Instagram, whether it's people that want to dabble in it as well, or they're saying, hey, I've tried the same things, and it's kind of cool seeing people try the same techniques that I've tried in the past. So, in the end, Instagram is a community, and that's a value that I can share with people, which is, this is how I did my food styling photography. Check it out. Let me know if you have any techniques, So it's been a fun community in that sense with the food styling photography.
I think that's neat that you're creating those conversations with other people that are doing similar things to you. Or I think that I like your point of view on just all the controversy sometimes with food photography, and how you're not dumbing it down, but you're giving credit where credit is due.
Yeah, exactly. But I mean, if you're not doing food styling photography, of course, I don't mind that either. And everyone has their own goals when it comes to Instagram. So whether you want to keep it real, I totally appreciate that. Or if you want to up it a little bit with food styling photography and get creative. I mean, I think being a left brain career, such as being a dietitian, it's actually really fun to be on the other side once in a while and have a creative outlet, and it's kind of fun because you're already eating. You're already thinking about food and nutrition. Why not, have fun with it while you're doing it.
That's so true though. And, I guess I mean, I'm sure I've thought of it before, but yeah, food is art. I mean, when you think about it. So even if it's not the most perfect picture, it still can be creative and it can still be art. So
yeah, definitely. And then, being a food blogger or wanting to promote different types of foods and nutrition and stuff like that, I think food styling photography can be very important, because when someone's quickly going through the feed, they should be able to feel your story or your point. You know what I'm saying? So like being able to clearly use food styling photography to say, hey, these are the ingredients you need. Like if you want to make this tomato sauce, it's just these 4 ingredients, and I've somehow highlighted it naturally in this photo.
Yes, no, that's so
to
true.
let you quickly understand. Yeah. Or let people feel like, I've been really into action shots lately. So I feel like action shots really kind of makes it more homey. It makes it feel like maybe it's more doable to see someone actually doing it themselves. So it's been fun. It's been fun playing with different emotions and colors and doing action shots.
I can about imagine how much
different
fun props you have all over your home.
Yes. It keeps increasing.
You're going to need to have like, how like some people have their own closet. You're going to have your own like food styling closet.
Yes. A whole room would be ideal.
Yeah. Like a little suite for you to do all your creativity.
Yeah. A little napkin for every mood.
You could have a lot of stuff for sure.
Yes, definitely.
So now do people with your photography that you do you get businesses and do you get people that see your photography reach out to you and want to work with you, and that creates those kind of conversations? And
So right now I'm freelancing, and I feel like Jane, a dietitian, has been an excellent portfolio builder to get freelance gigs. So I've only done one project that involved recipe development and food styling photography. But the other stuff has been all writing, nutrition writing. And I'm hoping eventually, I do have a separate site where it's just my portfolio of work that I send to potential freelance clients with my photography and styling. And I haven't sent that out as much as I need to, so I can get more gigs that's related to food styling photography. But I feel like doing the food styling photography makes everything look really nice on your site. And I think when my clients, even when they're looking at me for just nutrition writing, I think when they go in and they see the nice photos and the blogs and the recipes that come with it, I don't know, I think somehow they feel good about hiring me. Even if it's just for nutrition writing. Yeah, maybe. Or someone that looks maybe having a site that looks put together, because basically that site is your portfolio, however you use it, whether it's to get clients for private practice, and for me is to get clients for freelance gigs.
Do you find as a freelancer that it's difficult I'm sure it was difficult when you started, but do you ever feel like that, that next gig, are you just like waiting for that next gig, and does it like drive you crazy, or do you feel like gotten to a point that you're kind of confident with consistency, or how do you feel?
Consistency is really hard. I started freelancing in December, so it hasn't been very long. But I have picked up a few gigs, and every gig is getting bigger and bigger paying. And so with the bigger paying jobs, it becomes more time consuming as well, So I'm in a big project right now that's taking a long time, but I'm getting money as I go and finish every milestone. So that's really nice. But once that project's done, I have to be out on lookout again, looking for clients. But I notice that as you build your portfolio, you're able to get gigs a little easier because you have a reputation. So I have my site as the portfolio builder, but I also have my past work now as a resume builder as well. But at the beginning, it was very slow. Like I was like, I'm not sure if I'll ever get a client.
Like, how does this work? How do I get this? Do you kind of like have to
I'm putting myself on the line? Like, where are you?
Right. You're like putting yourself out there like, well, and like you said, you probably have to email and you probably have to reach out to just kind of like cold calling just people that you want to work with, basically. Did you find, do you kind of seek out people you want to work with?
I just say no to people I don't want to work with, if that because I apply to stuff and then I get invited to projects as well. And I would say no to gigs that I don't feel good about.
Sure. That's good.
Yeah, they can give you a vibe. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Because then you would know how the whole project's going to go, and you're going to be like, oh, this is not going to be good.
Yeah. Like someone, I'm not going to name names or companies or anything, but someone had reached out to me and wanting me to estimate nutritionals based on Yelp photos. I'm like,
Oh.
no.
Like not even going there.
Yes.
That whole thing just sounds sketchy.
Yes, exactly. And it's like they're wanting sodium and potassium. Like I need a recipe. I need more data.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's people with kidney.
You can't do that ethically.
Yeah. There's
exactly
kidney failure. I can't tell them
exactly
on the sodium content or potassium content.
Yes.
Interesting.
Exactly. So it can be scary out there. Just say no to the unethical ones.
Well, and like, I think that's a great point. Like when you're starting out a business or starting, this adventure, you can't say, ethically, you really can't say yes to everything. If you feel in your gut, it's not a good decision.
Right. Exactly.
Well, it's good to know that, like you said, there's the project that you're working on currently, like you can get paid throughout the process. And it's not just like, hey, do this for 6 months and then we'll pay you at the end. I think that's something I didn't realize either. Like, do you negotiate your contracts with them, or do they kind of have a contract that they send you, or how does that work?
You can definitely negotiate contracts. So this last project, this one that I'm working right now, I was able to increase it by almost $2,000 just by telling them I need more pay than that for the time that you want and the expertise that you're getting from a dietitian. So definitely, if there's any dietitians out there that wants to freelance or just looking for jobs in general, always negotiate, always, because the worst they can say is no. Mm-hmm. But the first thing already is that they're reaching out to you for your expertise, so they already want you. And the only problem that can happen is if another dietitian just accepts it at a lower rate, which doesn't help the field ever.
No, I agree with you.
Yeah.
Don't do it, people.
Don't do it. Yeah.
Don't do it.
Yeah. Exactly.
Now, with your writing, this is interesting to me. So, like, with your writing, because I think writing can be intimidating just because, again, it's like that expertise that they're looking for. Do you also kind of take the same stance of, I don't really know a lot about this topic, so I don't really want to write on it? Are you focusing mostly on nutrition writing, or is it a vast variety of writing?
Only nutrition writing. So I'm staying on my scope in that sense. And I also don't have time to just research something that I'm not an expert in as well.
Sure.
Or don't have the correct resources for. Yeah. So only nutrition writing. What else? Yeah. Just nutrition writing.
And you felt like, do you have to do this? Because I feel like research is still is there still a little research involved, or is it pretty easy for you to do the writing that you're doing?
Yes, there is research involved, and it depends on what you're writing about, because recently I wrote about a disease state that I think it was just glossed over real quick in my medical nutrition class. So I had to go a little deeper in that disease when I was writing about it. So it does require a little bit of extra research on things that you're not as familiar with. Yeah. And then sometimes I would write about ingredients in a particular food.
Oh.
So I'll have to, research again, what are those additives and preservatives used for, where they come from, get the background information on those ingredients.
It's like going back.
So I would say every single writing gig has been a little bit of research, and you can charge for the project as well as research time as well.
Oh,
when you're freelancing.
That's nice. Very good.
Yeah. So you can say, I can do that for that rate, but I'll need an extra 8 hours worth of pay for research.
That's a good tip. How did you decide on your going rate? Was it something that you kind of like looked at other dietitians doing similar things to you, or did you look at other professionals outside of dietetics that were doing similar type? How did you kind of figure that out for yourself?
So it was tough because, not tough at the beginning, because I basically grabbed the rate whatever I saw on another dietitian So I looked at a few dietitian profiles that are freelancers, and I saw their like hourly rates. So I charged based on that for hourly rate. But then a lot of projects are like based on how much you get paid per word and stuff like that. And I didn't know what to do on that end. But what was really helpful was that I was in I am in the RDs Who Write group. It's led by Anna Riesdorf. Mm-hmm. Have you seen the group before?
I have, yes. I think I'm pretty sure I follow her and her group.
Yeah. Her group has been tremendously helpful. And she also provides resources for RDs who are starting off freelancing and starting off writing. And in there, she has rates for like per word and stuff like that, that's average for the field right now. So that helped a lot as far as my projects that involved more per word rates versus hourly rates.
Interesting. Well, that's good. That's a good resource for people that maybe are thinking about doing something similar to what you do.
Yeah. So it was really cool because after I got her pamphlet of information about rates, I was able to prevent myself from ever going under.
Which is, like you said,
or accepting. Yeah,
so important.
Exactly.
For dietitians to not undersell ourselves.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. We worked hard.
Well, you definitely did, because you took the long way around too. So,
yes.
So what do you kind of see for yourself kind of moving forward, the future of Jane, the dietitian? What is kind of some of your goals and some things that you want to achieve?
Ooh, so it's a long journey and a long road, but eventually I would like to make money through blogging and through social media, whether it's like getting paid sponsors and stuff like that for Instagram. I'm still building my platform and I'm doing it organically, which is taking forever, but it's taking so long, but I know it's worth it in the end, because although I'm building organically and slowly, I am able to interact with everyone or most people that I follow or am following or who's following me, and building a lot of relationships that way. But eventually I like to get paid through blogging. That'd be really cool. Also maybe become a media dietitian as well. So I have been trying to establish myself as a nutrition expert in the field, by being interviewed, by like MyFitnessPal and stuff like that, and getting quoted in different sites and things of that nature. So I'm trying to break into media as well. So if I can make a career out of blogging and media, being a media dietitian and freelancing, I think I'm in good hands.
Absolutely. It's like the triple threat. I think that's perfect.
Yeah, but it's taking a lot of time, whether it's like taking courses and learning about it and learning about SEO and stuff like that. It's just been so overwhelming.
I bet.
So I'm just trying to tackle it slowly. Right now I'm just doing freelancing so I can at least make some money on the side. And then I can go deeper into media and social media as well.
Well, I think you're killing it. I think you're doing a great job. I think I am inspired by you and your food photography, because I'm like, oh man, she just does the coolest stuff. And I love your recipes are so approachable, like your tomato. Oh my gosh. I did make that. It was absolutely delicious. I actually did it for a class.
Wait, you made the bruschetta?
Yes, I made it. Yeah, I made it for a class that I had at work, and it was a hit. So thank you for that amazing recipe. It's a permanent one in my recipe book. So
yay, you're welcome. I'm glad to hear it worked out. It's such a simple recipe, but so delicious. I love it.
So that's the recipes that I like to share with people, because again, it has to be approachable and it has to be delicious. So I did, it's funny. I did pull up my phone to show them what it's supposed to look like with your photo. Because I was like, well, just so you know, here's a reference for what it should look like when it's done. And they were all like, holy moly, that looks so delicious. And I was like, yes, so create that. They did. It was funny. But anyway.
Yay. Oh, that was a doable one for sure.
That's a good, great one. So I appreciate all the things that dietitians that work with food, because I'm not a cook or a chef in any way. So thank you for creating stuff like that.
Oh, you are so welcome. Thank you so much for sharing the recipe. And I know like you shared the blog over Thanksgiving and stuff like that. And I really appreciate you. And I really like your channel too, because you're always like building up dietitians, and it's just a good vibe altogether.
On the same team, right? We have to like support each other.
Exactly.
Well, I know.
Embracing the hell yeah.
Yes, embracing the hell yes. Yes, that's what we have to do. And I think it's good to always share. That's why I do this podcast, because I love to hear about how you got to where you got. It wasn't just a direct line, and how it influences you as a dietitian and what you do. So it's good to know that background about certain individuals and why they do, why are they so passionate about what they do.
Yeah, definitely. It was cool reading your book and learning how you wanted to be in the medical field. Was it wanting to be a doctor?
Yeah.
First, before becoming a dietitian. And I think I know a lot in your podcast is that a lot of people start off wanting to be like a PA or pharmacist or something, and then ended up falling in love with nutrition.
They did not breeze through Nutrition 101 like you did, and they remember.
No. I could have fallen in love way sooner.
You could have. That's so funny. I think that's the best thing I've heard to date, when someone took a Nutrition 101 class but didn't remember it at all, but ended up being a dietitian.
Oh my goodness. I know. I think it was such an easy class. Like, it's probably like open book tests online.
Oh, probably.
No pace.
Yeah. You're like, here we go. Vitamin C is blah, blah, blah. Done. Here.
Yes. Thanks for my A.
Yeah.
Moving on.
That's great. Well, I know I'm excited to keep following you and just kind of following your journey and just seeing all the exciting things that you're doing. So I always tell people this too. I'm like, I know in like 2 years we'll have to podcast again to kind of catch up and see what has changed. So hopefully you'll be up for it.
Oh yeah, I would love that. I'm interested to see where I am in 2 years as well. Who knows? I know. Like, I love food photography so much. And I'm like, if I can become a full-time food photographer, am I still a dietitian? I'm not sure.
Oh, totally. Because that's like your roots. For sure.
Yes, it is. I'll still make recipes.
Yes. You need to have like a class sometime for dietitian. I feel like that's something, I would just love to like learn from somebody that's a dietitian that does food photography. And I know there's probably people out there that do this, but like there's classes for everything, but I don't feel like there's enough classes for dietitians for food photography. But maybe I haven't looked.
I was thinking about that lately too.
I'd come to California and take a class from you.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, I would, for sure.
I would love to meet you. Wait, are you going to Fancy this year?
I am going to Fancy, yes. So
you are?
I will be there. Are you going?
I don't know yet. I'm still on the fence about Fancy. So
I usually am on the fence about Fancy too, but I am going. I didn't go last year, but I am gonna go for a quick trip this year. So if you go, you'll have to let me know, because we're gonna do a little meetup for all my podcasting friends on Saturday. So yeah.
Ooh, fun.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. I'll let you know.
Okay, I'll let you know. Post it. All right. So now I have to ask you the hard questions, because I always have to end with my hard questions. So why don't you share with me some of your favorite foods that you enjoy?
Favorite foods. I like everything. So it's kind of hard, but if I had to narrow down to like a few, anything Vietnamese, of course. Love my Vietnamese food. I love Tex-Mex.
Because you lived in
love ice cream. Yeah, exactly. Love ice cream. Also love my fruits and vegetables. Just a little bit of everything, you know.
Just love food. That's the best part.
Yes.
You have some beverages that you enjoy?
I love coffee, so I have to have that at least once a day or early in the morning. And then I really, really love a glass of Cabernet or champagne. So yeah, those are my go-tos for a good night.
For a good night. I like it. Do you have a favorite color or color?
I think I'm really drawn to dark colors. So like blacks, grays, dark reds, purples, navy blues.
Well, you can tell too by your
anything darker
that you kind of have been experimenting a lot with dark colors, like just dark background. Yeah, I like it. It's very mysterious. I love it.
Prominent. Yeah. I want to feel like the food's going into the dark abyss sometimes.
Oh, it's very mysterious. Yes.
Yeah.
Do you have a favorite scent or favorite smells?
I would say my favorite smells, it's all still food related. So like cilantro and fresh jalapenos. I think those are my favorite smells, but I think mostly because it reminds me of a good like bowl of pho. So maybe my favorite smell is just pho.
It could be just all of that, all the scents from pho.
Yeah. Yes, all of it.
Cilantro is amazing. I love cilantro. I could put cilantro in everything too. Like,
yeah, it's so good.
It is so good.
It's so good.
Yeah, I agree.
It's so fresh.
It is. It's such a pretty green. Yeah, I love it. What brings you joy, Jane?
So like personal life or professionally?
Both, if you want. Either or. You can talk about them both. Yes.
Okay. So personally, hot yoga, not regular yoga, just hot yoga, brings me a lot of joy. Doing life with my husband, of course, hanging out with girlfriends, and then of course reading a good book once in a while.
That's very joyful. That's not a cookbook, or is a cookbook?
That's not a cookbook. That's not a cookbook. Yeah. Cookbook is my everyday book. Okay.
That's just life, everyday life.
Yeah. Good fiction. And then professionally, just right now, currently, it's just the freedom to be creative. So that brings a lot of joy on my end.
So awesome. This sounds like you just got it all going on, sister. I love it.
Thank you. I feel like a hot mess. So
well, you don't sound nice to hear. That's what hot yoga is for. It's to help you decrease your messiness.
Yes. Gotta let it all go when I'm doing hot yoga. Figure things out.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for spending time with me today. And I will definitely list your contact information for anybody that wants to reach out and connect with you and just kind of see all the amazing things that you're doing.
Thank you so much. I'm honored to be on your podcast. Thank you so much.
I appreciate that. Recently, Jane has been posting photos of my favorite fruit this past month. And those are, of course, cherries. And she is doing some awesome and creative things with them. In her post, she shares the camera specifics, what she did for lighting, as well as other props. So make sure to connect with Jane for more details about all the great things she's doing with food photography and her recipe development. And you can find her contact information in the show notes. My website, AnnElizabethRD.com, is where you can read my latest Embrace the Hell Yeah blog post, as well as all my previous podcasts, show notes, and links to things we talked about during all my conversations with these great nutrition experts. My book is also available to purchase on the website, and now you can purchase 15 CEUs approved for self-study through the CDR on the website as well. I hope we can connect more on social media by finding me on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, and Pinterest at AnnElizabethRD. Remember to be great always, find the joy in each day, and to start a conversation that truly matters.